Hey, guess what? I like Fire Emblem. That's right, that Fire Emblem. And, well, not just that one, but that one. And that one too. In fact, it's my favorite video game series ever. You can set any of the games in front of me, and I will absolutely have a good time with it. That includes Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, the very first Fire Emblem game. The slow, obtuse, monotonous Fire Emblem 1. One of the biggest sources of tedium for Fire Emblem 1, at least for me, is the music. For all but a single outlier, every chapter in the game will always play the same songs for both the player and enemy phase. But there was one instance of a shift in pace you could look forward to. After nearly every enemy of a chapter has been routed, and with the point of capture drawing ever closer, the background music changes to a more hopeful tune. This piece of music, which I will henceforth dub the Victory Fanfare, was a much needed change of pace. It's the game communicating to the player that they've done a good job and now it's time to start winding down. Even its disappearance is a good cause for concern. If a wave of enemy reinforcements come in and suddenly the standard battle theme returns, it can drive up the tension more than it was previously. It's not like this is some genius form of storytelling or game design, but it's a nice little presentation quirk that was kept for many of the games going forward. Although the Tellus duology is when these songs started to fall from prominence. Path of Radiance was a lot more selective about when its respective Victory Fanfare was used. In fact, Radiant Dawn was the first game in the series that didn't have a Victory Fanfare at all. It made sense as to why they didn't include it. No one really wins in Radiant Dawn. And since the Tellus games were a lot more grounded than the series had been previously, frequent use of these songs might have betrayed the setting a little. That's completely okay though. Victory Fanfares don't have to play for every single chapter. Like, defense or escape maps are maybe not the best choice to have a Victory Fanfare play. But it wasn't like they were forgotten. The 2DS remakes for Shadow Dragon and Mystery of the Emblem brought their Victory Fanfares back. Then Fire Emblem Awakening came along and did what Awakening does best. Ruined the series. From this point onward, the tradition has now completely disappeared. Fates didn't bring Victory Fanfares back, nor did Three Houses or even Engage. Now I don't know why they weren't used for Awakening. For all I know, the reasoning could be even as simple as they didn't feel like doing it. It might even have to do with Yuka Tsuchiyoko, Fire Emblem's original composer, being promoted to more supervisory roles during the development of the Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance. And perhaps the new staff on the ground floor had different ideas about the musical direction of the series, which would make a degree of sense, as Tsuchiyoko appeared to not have as much direct involvement with the Tellus games, but was more hands-on with the DS remakes, with Awakening and Beyond being the point she fully returned to being a supervisor. Even then, this is correlation, not necessarily causation. Although Three Houses did introduce a similar music trend. After initiating combat with the enemy commanders, the background music would override to a more intense song for the remainder of the chapter. That being said, it goes for a completely different tone than the Victory Fanfares used to. It feels like you're being thrust into an even greater challenge, where the older games made it feel like you were really accomplishing something after all that fighting. But hey, at least Shadows of Valentia kept this homage to the original Gaiden, just like the other two remakes that came before it, right? Haha! Just kidding! No, it didn't! Oh, look how sneaky I am! I have bamboozled you! Victory Fanfares and the way that Fire Emblem 1 used them have completely disappeared from the series. I think that their absence has led to a critical loss to the vibes of Fire Emblem. This was an instrumental part of the pacing that contributed heavily to at least my own enjoyment factor of these games. That being said, who even cares? Did you realize these songs have been missing since Awakening? This is such a hyper-specific aspect of the series that I'm pretty sure I've heard no one else talk about before. You might then be asking why I bothered to make such a fuss over it. I just miss them. That's it. I can't truly pretend like this is some fundamental omission that has irrevocably changed the series in a way that can never truly be undone. And even then, it's just not a big deal. There are maybe dozens of things about this series I would much rather see changed or removed or added before Victory Fanfares are reconsidered. But even still, I just think they're neat. It would be nice if they came back. So do you hear me, Intelligent Systems? You better bring Victory Fanfares back for Fortune's Weave, because if you don't, I will probably do absolutely nothing about it.